So they were chucking these things away.
Gosh.
I didn't even know what they were.
Mm.
But they were pretty and attractive. I thought, yeah. And there were, what, 25 men in my barrack room, I think. In the end, I was only there for one visit, unfortunately. But every time one of the boys in the barrack room came back, he said, yeah, I've got something for you, Fred. And he'd have a handful of them. So, you know, that led it on. And I'm still collecting now.
Right.
That lot there, that's all British forces, but not in the UK.
Mm.
The India, the blue and yellow is the Canal Zone. The white and blue there, that's Greek.
You've got Iceland down the bottom.
Iceland down below.
And Malaya.
Holland, one of the Dutch.
Of course, yeah.
The Lion of Hong Kong over there on the right. Those are Central African ones with the trees.
So which came first, the military history or the badges?
Badges.
Badges led you to the military history.
It's a long and winding tale. I was living in Uxbridge at the time, and you know, near the airport,
Yeah.
and they were threatening to knock down our local pub, which had been there since 1700 and something, because the council wanted to expand their garden, and it did happen. But there was a great deal of protest about it. Complaints to the council, complaints to the brewery, all the rest of it, didn't get anywhere. But one of the customers said to me, he said, well, you're a clever lad. He said, can you find out how old, because nobody really knew how old the pub was. I said, yeah, I'll trot down to the library and ask, which I did. And the lady librarian looked at me and she said, you must be joking, Mr. McCabe. I said, no, I thought it was the obvious place. She said, yes and no. We simply don't have the information. I said, well, where might I find the information? She said, the county records office, as it was then, which is right up next to, you know where the passport office is in London,
Yeah.
Petty France,
Mhm.
wasn't far from there. And I explained to them carefully what fortunately I got a rough idea what I wanted. And once they were satisfied that I actually knew what I was doing, they were more than helpful. Because you get a lot of people who expect them to do your work. It doesn't work that way. In fact, the guy in charge, probably be in his 30s, a bit difficult to read. But he got so friendly, he was working on something one day, he said, oh, Mr. McCabe, he said, you like this? Have a look at this. I said, that's like that sort of thing I'm looking for. He said, no, that's why I asked you. So that just led on from there. And somebody asked me then, they were doing genealogy,
Okay.
and they got a military ancestor, but they didn't know where to start. Oh, I said, that's not difficult. It was called the Public Record Office then. It's called the National Archives now. So I trogs down there, and then that became a regular haunt. If I wasn't in the pub and I wasn't at work, I was in the archives. And my best take on that one was, I'd been doing some research for a lady in New Zealand who said she was British, but the Home Office wouldn't believe her.
Okay.
And she lived in New Zealand quite a few years, and she was coming to England, Yorkshire specifically, to do some kind of an upgrade course, and that was in March or April, and they were threatening to throw her out by September, which they can do if they think she's not, and she can't prove that she's British. So she knew the name of her great-grandparents had come from Dublin, and she knew the name of the ship that it had emigrated on.
Okay.
She knew the date, but they couldn't have looked everywhere, but they couldn't find the marriage. I thought, well, that's understandable, because this pertains even today. British births overseas, in whatever country it is always, repeat, always reported to the Registrar General in London.
Okay.
If it's in mid-air, it's done by the airline. If it's at sea, it's done by the captain of the ship or his company, and so on. So I thought, well, ship's log is the first thing to look for.
That's so good.
Only one problem. No index.
Ah.
And it's about that thick. So never mind. It started. Third page. That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
Their name, age. They were married on board the ship by a chaplain. Right, we got it nailed. So, but the problems weren't over. I phoned up the Home Office. I gave the lady's name and I explained the problem. And what was it they wanted exactly? Oh, we'd like the original document. I said, I doubt you could get that. It belongs to the Public Record Office. Ah. Right then, he said, do you know, what do they call them? Registrar General, is it?
Okay.
Is it elevated solicitor? I said, yes, and he said, we'd like an affidavit from him. I said, okay. So I was sort of moaning to the young man who produced the document for me. And he said, that's no problem. He said, the keeper of the records is one of those. He'll sign, and the solicitor can charge you 20 quid or more. They didn't charge me nothing.
So
I got 2 copies. Next came the problem was, how do I get in touch with the lady? I knew the name of the village in Yorkshire, and that's all. So, in those days, you could phone a local post office. You could even phone a local phone box. So I rang up, I tried to explain, and I could tell I was up against a stone wall. And then all of a sudden I realised the lady I was talking to knew the lady I was talking about. So I thought, I've got to complain. So I said, look, I'm a researcher. She's got a problem trying to prove her identity and her nationality. I found the answer. I'd like to get in touch with her. Just a moment. Didn't tell me the number, but put her through. She was astonished. We dealt with it later, but that's all. She said, how did you find me? I said, well, I don't do research without finding things. So I said, I've got good news for you. I've got 2 copies of an affidavit for you. She said, I only want one. I said, love, knowing the British, they're bad as the French. There'll be some prat that will pop up in a year or two's time and said, oh, well, yes, we never got that. Right, we're going to throw you out again. Hang on to the second copy like grim death.
Okay.
So, that pleased me, so that and another one. This lady used to come over from America and bring a team of genealogists, searchers with her. And we went over tea, and this Australian gentleman came up to me and he said, I believe you are the gentleman who knows about the army. I said, yes. He said, well, my ancestor was in the army. I said, now I don't know what regiment, I don't know anything else apart from that. I said, well, you know the rough period, don't you? He said, yes. I said, well, I could recite all the volume numbers off in my head in those days. It's WO, which is War Office, which is now the Ministry of Defence. It's WO something oblique so-and-so. Look in there. It might take us some time because there's no index to it. So I happened to see him the next day, and his face lit up. He said, I found them, I found them. We've only been looking 20 years.
Wow.
That's lovely, isn't it, that you were able to help them with it?
He did. Yeah.
That's a fantastic legacy, Pat, to be able to help people.
He didn't want to pay any money on it. It was cheap for nothing. But nonetheless, I was, like the lady nurse, I was pleased that I managed to help somebody who both had got in the case of a lady, a very difficult problem, and it was always dead easy. But if you can help somebody, why not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for taking us on an incredible journey. 51 minutes ago, we started in Enniskillen,
Yeah.
and we've been everywhere. We've been absolutely everywhere, and that was a totally, thoroughly
Oh,
enjoyable.
in case you're
conversation.
interested, it happens to be in Enniskillen Castle.
Up there.
Yeah,
Ah.
Wow.
my brother got that from me. My brother-in-law, my sister's husband, deceased unfortunately. He used to run a little sweetie shop in Yorkshire, and he had a schoolgirl, teenager, working for him, and she was good. He had an Irish calendar on, and there was one lovely scene of a sunset, of a lake at sunset just going down. Absolutely beautiful it was. And she copied it, and the copy was nearly as good as the original.
Wow.
So my mate brother and I were discussing something or other, and he said we were never much good at family relationships in my family. He said, when's your next birthday, Pat? So I told him. He said, what age will you be? 65, I think it was. I'm nearly 85 now. I said, and you know what? I said, I've never had a birthday party. He said, you what? I said, I've never had a birthday party. I was in Germany when I was 21. Oh, well, that pulled the plug out. We ended up with a big party, a cake, with, you got it somewhere? Yes. With the McCabe coat of arms on it.
Okay.
We're not from a title family. I came across it in the record office in Dublin, the Irish records, and my brother found it as well, and he just adopted it. You're supposed to ask permission, but you didn't. So you gave me that picture.
For your birthday.
I know I can't see it. It should be over there.
Yeah.
It's lovely though.
Okay, so I'm going to bring it to an end. Is that
Yeah.
okay? Okay. All right. Thanks so much, Pat. Thank you.